Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to prune blueberries, and we're also going to start some herb seeds in the greenhouse. So I'm out here standing by our blueberry tubs. They're lining the orchard fence in the terracotta pot and galvanized tubs. There's the shed and the cut flower garden and the house there in the background, just so you know where we're at. We've also got strawberries planted around the base of the blueberries. We're going to clean those up first before we start in on our pruning. Winter is the perfect time to prune blueberries because you can easily distinguish old wood from new wood. You can also see anything that's dead or damaged and get those things removed. It's kind of like how we treat our fruit trees. You know, you can see things a lot more clearly when you're not dealing with a leaf canopy, and it's also far less stressful on your plant. This is a perfect example of old versus new wood. Old wood here, usually larger in diameter, a dull light brown color with peely kind of bark there, and then the new growth here usually is bright orange or red, kind of shiny, just really fresh looking. Our goal is to remove a little bit of the old wood, not all of it, because blueberries do produce fruit on old wood or last year's growth, but just enough to encourage the plant to send energy into creating some new stems. That way we've got a mixture of both old wood and new wood, and we're just continually every year taking a little bit of that old growth out. Blueberry canes tend to fizzle out after years 6, 7, 8, but if you kind of keep on that same pruning practice, you'll have a blueberry plant that's always in really a good stage of growth. It can be a hard thing to do, especially if you're just starting, because you want all the fruit. You know, you see those swollen buds and you think those are going to be fruit. I don't want to cut those off. But what you're doing if you leave all of them on your plant is your plant's going to have to spread out all of its energy, and it's not going to create nice big blueberries. So you're actually not taking or reducing the yield when you prune your blueberry. You're allowing your plant to send energy into creating much larger blueberries with what's left. Okay, let's get all the strawberries cleaned out, then we'll start pruning. Lot better. We'll be able to see our blueberry plants a little bit more clearly. They are fairly young plants. I mean, I just planted them in these containers last year. A few of them I have had in containers for a couple years though, like these right here. They're still not super big, but the pruning instructions are pretty much the same. Step number 1 is to remove anything that's diseased, damaged, or dead. The 3 Ds. That's pretty much the first thing you do in almost any pruning project. I don't have a ton of examples of dead, damaged, or diseased because my plants are so young, but I did notice, like at the base of this plant, first off, there's a broken branch. We don't want to keep that, so we will cut that out. And then all of this growth at the bottom, you can see it looks almost kind of white. And dead growth, oh, there's another little broken branch. Dead growth typically has a more sunken, kind of dried out appearance, and all of this is dead. You can also take your fingernail and scrape that top layer of bark off. If it's brown like that underneath, there's pretty much no reason to keep it. If you see some green though, you might keep it if it's a nice branch and just see what happens. There may be some life left in it, but I'm going to take out all of this growth here, which is quite perfect because it opens up the center of this plant. That's another goal. We want to keep the plant nice and open in the center without a ton of foliar growth, because then light and air will be able to reach all of the plant, which is better for fruit yields. This branch actually does not look very healthy. It's got brown tips, and it looks like it's in the process of drying out currently. See the ribbing like right in here? So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that one. I just want to get rid of things I don't want the plant to send energy into trying to keep alive. That one doesn't look good. There we go. Kind of the same story on this one right here. All of this middle growth, most of it anyway, kind of has that white, dried out, dead appearance. So I'm going to get rid of all of that. We don't want to keep any of that small growth anyway. That's pretty much step number 2. So once you've done disease, damage, dead, you go in and you take out some of the stuff the little stuff. We want our plant sending energy into the nice big stems. If one of them looks like a nice one, like you might want to keep it for later on, like this one right here has nice coloring. It's heading the direction I want it to. So I'm going to get rid of this one. Oops. This one. We'll take that out and we'll leave this one and encourage that one to get bigger. Same with this pair right here. This one is pretty close to this stem, so I'm going to get rid of this one and keep this one. I'm going to head this one off though. It looks like the tip is kind of brown and I want it to take off more toward the center there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We want to encourage the plant to fruit up here rather than keeping all that shrubby growth and blooming and fruiting down here, especially if you have yours planted in the ground and they're a lot lower. Oftentimes that fruit gets kind of passed by and all the stuff on the top that's easy to pick is the stuff that we actually harvest. Okay, let's take a look at this one. This one's a little bit thicker. I'm gonna get rid of some dead stuff. Also competing branches, see all of these right in here? We don't want that. We don't want crisscrossing competing branches. Take out, let's see, those right there. And then this branch that's heading back in toward the center of the plant, we'll get rid of that. And see how this branch is coming up and it's messing with this one here? We don't want that crisscrossing going on. Now I'm just removing any dead tips that I see. There are not a ton of them. It's looking pretty nice. So this little pile is what I ended up with from these three right here. Don't those look better? They look like they have room to breathe, and we've just redirected energy into the branches we want to have fruit. Okay, so next we're going to address cutting out a little bit of the old growth, which in my case doesn't mean much because we don't have a ton of old growth because they're so young. I'm sorry I don't have a more advanced shrub to show you this process, but you know, it all relates. It's just on a different scale. I do have a couple of examples though here, and you may have already cut out a little bit of old growth in the last step when you were addressing any stems that might be crisscrossing. But see this plant right here, we only have 4 stems, 4 of which are old growth and 1 is new growth. But look at this one. See how it's coming up? It grows around the stem like it's hugging the stem right here. So I don't really want to keep this one. This one looks really strong. This one doesn't have as much branching at the top. So I'm actually going to take this one out because it's addressing 2 things. 1, it's removing the amount of old growth I need to. 2, it is alleviating the pressure, the space pressure that this was causing up here. It's way better. And this is the part that I find can be a little bit confusing because when you start to research how to prune blueberries, there are a lot of different methods. I think that pretty much goes for everything that you start to research. You know, people like to do things different ways, even among the experts. And I do not consider myself an expert blueberry grower because I can't grow them in the ground like normal. You know, my experience is limited to containers. But I think in the end, your goal should be a little bit of pruning rather than no pruning at all. And when you approach with the steps that I've shared already, I think that that's just a really good pruning practice to keep plants healthy in general, to keep airflow nice, to keep shrubby growth in check and all of that. So some people say to remove 30% of old growth. So like right now I just removed 25% because we only had 4 old growth stems and I removed 1. So that's 25%. I have 1 that's in front of me. I'm not going to remove anything from this plant because it's just too small, too young. If I remove the old growth, it would remove all the old growth. You can see I've got 2 new stems from last year. So this is just starting out. It's looking really good. And then this one looks like some of it may be a little bit older. Most of it's new, so I'm just going to leave that alone because I feel like the shape is nice. And even though I do plan on removing this one right here, this taller one, this next year, I want to let them both bear. Let's take a look at a couple more. So we've got this one right here. It's got quite a bit of new growth. I'm going to remove some of this more fine growth at the bottom though. I don't know how I missed that. Okay, we got rid of that. We've only got 3 old growth stems here, and I'm just going to go ahead again and leave them all. This one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 old growth stems and 2 new growth stems. It does appear that a couple of these old growth stems are competing. See this, how this one forks, and then when they come back together, they're crisscrossing right up here. Let me go around back. Crisscrossing right here, and they're both kind of going back toward the center of the plant. I don't know if I really want that, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe remove this one here. Eliminated part of the problem. And then we're gonna let's see, I'm just gonna get rid of the whole thing. Yep, we'll do that. We're also gonna get rid of this one right here. It's kind of growing into the plant. I hope you guys can see all this good enough. Sometimes I get moving too quickly and I don't get the right angles. You know what, I think if we get rid of this whole old growth stem, the whole thing, yeah, that just took care of everything pretty much. That opened this whole spot up for this new stem right here. That's really perfect. Now that the pruning's all done, I'm really hopeful for a good year with these blueberries. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of soil acidifier and compost to these containers. Even though I know the majority of the root ball is frozen, the soil acidifier isn't gonna go anywhere. I'll work it into the top layer of soil, and then I know as soon as it thaws out enough and we get, you know, some moisture, it will start pushing that down in there, and it's just really good for these plants. It's just something we have to do. It might not be something you need to do. And then I'm gonna add a top dress of compost just to protect the roots. They are fairly shallow rooted, but also to help protect the crown of the strawberry since I just exposed them in case we have another dip in temperature. I did mention what varieties these are, right? So if I didn't, we have Spartan and Patriot, which are early producers, both northern high bush varieties. And then we have Bluecrop and Bluegold, which are also northern high bush, but they're mid-season producers. It's kind of nice to have different types that will produce at different times of the season. The Bluegold and Spartan are partially self-fruitful, and then the Bluecrop and Patriots are self-fruitful. So that's something to keep in mind. When you're choosing blueberry varieties, you need to pick ones that will flower at the same time. Like our Patriot and Spartans, because they're early producers, they will bloom early as well, kind of at around the same time. So we know that they can pollinate each other. And the Patriot is self-fruitful, so it wouldn't need a pollinator, but the Spartan, being self-fruitful, you would get berries, but you'll have better yields if you have more than one variety. Same goes for the Bluecrop and the Bluegold. Those are both mid-season producers. They will be blooming at around the same time. And again, the Bluecrop will help pollinate the Bluegold, even though that one's also partially self-fruitful, will have better yields. And then as far as types of blueberries go, I grow mostly northern high bush varieties. Usually they have the highest yield per plant, the largest berries. It's what you find at U-Pick farms and at grocery stores most often. They are better for more northern climates. They do need more than 800, so 800 to 1,000 chill hours, which means from the first frost to the last frost, however many hours that works out to be. And every one of the different types of varieties will want a different type of chill hour. Then there are low bush types, which are for the coldest climates. They're the hardiest. They're a much smaller plant. They produce kind of like wild blueberries. Smaller blueberries, quite a few of them per plant, but the plants are a lot smaller, so you're not going to get, you know, near the yield pound-wise that you would on a high bush. But if you live in a really cold climate, it would be a good option for you. And then there are rabbit eye types, which don't require as many chill hours, so 350 to 700. So for those of you who live in more warm climates, it might be a type that will work for you. They typically bloom and produce fruit earlier. So even if you can do rabbit eyes, I think I could do rabbit eyes here. So I might try it. I might see if I can get a hold of a variety or two and see if I can get some really early production, because even though rabbit eyes typically produce less berries per plant than a high bush, if we can get them that much earlier in the season and have a succession of produce, of harvest, that would be amazing. Then you've got southern high bush, which are the lowest chill requirement at 200 to 300 chill hours. So for a lot warmer climates, this would be a good option. They typically have fairly large berries, but not quite as many per plant as a high bush. And then you have one that's called half high, which is a cross between a northern high bush and a low bush. So you get kind of the benefits of both. You get the low bush cold hardiness with a little bit larger of a plant, so it's going to yield more berries. Usually they grow about 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. And hopefully in the years to come, I will have much larger blueberry specimens to show you the pruning process on. But I told you that I would share this with you when I got ready to do it, so we got it done today. I'm happy about it. We're going to head to the greenhouse now and get some herbs started, herb seeds. You know what, since we're out here, I want to show you the start of the gable on the cut flower shed. Look at that. Oh, that's going to bring so much more interest there to the roof. I'm excited. excited to see that go in. I have not found lights yet for the front, but I'm starting to see like all the pieces come together, and it's just getting so darn exciting. All right, to the greenhouse. Okay, so we are going to be starting 6 different types of herbs from seed. These are all Benjamin, he's using a bamboo stake as a spear. Don't spear me in the leg, dude. Go spear the grass. Okay, so I've got my soil and seed starting trays out here. We're going to be starting 6 different types of herbs, all of which need to be started 8 to 10 weeks before your average last frost date. So we're right within that window. We've got Elegance Purple Lavender, which grows about 12 to 18 inches tall and does flower the first year. Common Valerian, which I did make a few notes on these seed packets because I haven't started this one from seed before. You harvest the roots the second year, and the roots can be used for anxiety and insomnia and pain relief. Interesting. Herbal sedative. There is a variety of parsley called WEGA. Wega? I don't know. It's a curly type parsley. And then we have the German winter thyme, which is a really winter hardy thyme. We have mountain mint, which has really beautiful flowers. I'm growing this for the pollinators and for myself. It's a pretty one. We've got wild marjoram, which the flowers can be used as a garnish, and it's just a really pretty flower as well. And then wild bergamot, which is used to soothe bronchial complaints and ease colds. It flowers the second year. We've talked about seed starting quite a bit, really in the last couple of weeks, because we have quite a number of things started out here, plus a lot going in the studio, and we've talked about it a lot throughout the year. So I'm just gonna probably line these all up and get them done. I'm using the 24 count cell trays. These are out of the Growy seed starter kits from Gardener Supply. They have that self-watering bottom. So one of these right here, this is a watertight reservoir. So there's a little platform. This is a wicking mat, and you set your tray on top of that, and the soil will soak up the water from the wicking mat and then feed the plant. I do like to top water though until the seeds have germinated and have enough root system underneath them to actually utilize all of that water. I feel like I just have more control until they've grown up just a tiny bit. But after that, it's a game changer because oftentimes I only have to fill up the water reservoir maybe once a week, maybe twice a week when it gets a little bit warmer and they're bigger, but it really reduces the workload for sure. I've got my seed starting mix here, which is very important to use an actual seed starting mix, not regular potting mix. So we wouldn't use something like this right here. It's just a little bit too heavy. I've got my water because we're going to be pre-moistening the soil before we put it in our trays. I already have my tags all made up here, so we're good to go. And most of these, if not all of them, need to be exposed to light in order to germinate. Hold on, let me look. Yeah, the thyme, lavender, mountain mint, bergamot, and marjoram all require light in order to germinate. And the parsley, we're going to be putting those seeds about, let's see, 1-inch cell containers, 1/4 inch deep. And the valerian we'll put 3/8 of an inch deep. Benjamin, are you ready to plant? Okay, we're just gonna get this done. Here they are all done. So 1 full tray of valerian. I split the tray in half between the thyme and the parsley. a tray of Elegance Purple Lavender, tray of Wild Bergamot, tray of Mountain Mint, and a tray of Wild Marjoram. And I'm planning on just popping all of these out in big drifts out in the south garden this summer. I think it'll be really fun to have some really fun, more natural looking spots out there. And that is it for today's projects. I hope that it was helpful seeing how I prune our blueberries. I have grown blueberries in containers for a number of years. How many years? Lots. More than a decade, and have had really good luck with them in containers. So even if you are in an area where you can grow blueberries in the ground, but maybe you don't want to dedicate the space, or maybe you don't have a large garden and you want to grow them in containers, definitely give it a try. It's just so worth it. Benjamin loves to pick blueberries, and to see him enjoy them, that makes it like even more worth it to grow them to me. I don't know what Samantha Grace is gonna think. We'll have to see her reaction this summer. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're having a great day, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.